The mainstream media doesn't want you to see this. Hunter Biden just sat down for 5 hours.
You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on.
Because there's nothing in the laptop other
with Sean Ryan and completely dismantled his father's legacy. You know, the big guy. And the silence from CNN, MSNBC, and the rest, that's not an accident. Even Fox News won't touch this. They're hoping you don't find out what he actually said, but we're going to break it all down right now. 5 hours. Hunter Biden talked for 5 full hours on the Sean Ryan show, and I watched it. And in those 5 hours, he said things about his father's presidency that the legacy media was completely ignored. We're talking about immigration policy, Afghanistan, whether he's even actually a Democrat anymore. This interview dropped and the media went silent. They covered it for about, I'll say 10 minutes. They grabbed 1 or 2 quotes and moved on. But why? Because what Hunter said doesn't fit their narrative. Let me show you what they're hiding.
But we don't want immigrants that are coming here illegally, draining us of resources, and also and being prioritized above people that are actual literal heroes that are coming home, that are still recovering from 20 years of endless war, or anybody else in our society.
Here's the quote that should be on every news channel in America right now. Hunter Biden said, quote, "We don't want immigrants that are coming here illegally draining us of resources and being prioritized above anyone in our society." Let that sink in for a second. The son of the president who opened the border just said illegal immigrants are draining our resources and being prioritized over Americans. Now, you might have seen this quote in a tweet or a headline, but did CNN play the full clip? Did MSNBC break down what this means? No, because this quote is devastating. It's the president's own son admitting that millions of Americans are right. And what they've been saying, you and I have been saying it for 4 years, is right. And here's what makes it worse. Hunter specifically called out veterans. He said these resources should be going to veterans recovering from war, not to the people who came here illegally. That's a direct shot at his father's priorities, his father's legacy, and I would even go so far as Barack Obama. But the media doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want to admit that even Biden's own family sees the problem, so they buried it. And get this, just 6 months ago in July, Hunter was on another podcast passionately defending illegal immigrants.
All these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes?
He was talking about their contributions, their work ethic, all of it. What changed? Well, the election happened. His father's not president anymore, and suddenly Hunter can tell the truth. The media knew about both interviews. They could have asked, why did Hunter's position shift so drastically? But they didn't, because asking that question means admitting the Biden immigration policy was a disaster.
And he had mistakes like every other president has had.
What do you think some of those failures were?
I think one of the failures was the way in which they executed the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think it was an obvious fucking failure. I think 13 Marines are dead. I think that there was a better way to do it.
Here's another one they're ignoring. Hunter Biden called the Afghanistan withdrawal, and I quote, an obvious effing failure. An obvious failure. Those are the words of the president's son describing one of his father's biggest decisions. 13 American service members died. Billions of dollars in equipment left behind. Americans abandoned. Allies betrayed. And now Hunter admits it was a failure. I just wish he would say something about the $40 million a week that we're sending to the Taliban. Did you see this on the evening news? Did any anchor spend time on this admission? No, because the media spent years defending that withdrawal. They told us it was messy, but necessary. They told us Biden made the tough call, and now his own son said it was an obvious failure. I got to give my hat off to Sean Ryan for being able to keep his food down with an interview with Gavin Newsom and now Hunter. Hunter tried to soften all this. He said his dad was dealt a bad hand by Trump's Taliban deal. The media will probably grab that line if they cover this at all. But even with that excuse, he still called it a failure, and the media still won't touch it because this destroys the narrative that the news media has built. They can't admit they were wrong. They can't admit they covered for a disastrous policy, so they pretend this interview doesn't exist. Now, here's the part that really tells you why the media is silent. Hunter Biden said he doesn't even know if he's a Democrat anymore.
That would say that they're a Democrat. I don't even know if I'm a Democrat anymore. I don't know if I'm a part of any political, because it's just like, pox on all your houses, in my opinion.
Think about that. The president's own son is questioning his loyalty to the Democratic Party. And the media didn't make this a story, because if they cover this, they have to explain why he feels that way. Hunter is angry at the Democratic establishment. He's furious at the people who pushed his father out of the race, Kamala, Nancy. He specifically called out Jake Tapper from CNN. He went after George Clooney. He's burning bridges with the entire Democratic machine. And the media, all crickets, because these are their friends. These are their colleagues. Jake Tapper works at CNN. The media protects its own. So instead of covering Hunter's devastating critique of the Democratic Party, they just ignore it. They'll say he's out on rehab. They'll say he's on something else, and he very well could be. But this matters. This shows the rot inside the party. Even the Biden family is turning on the establishment. Even they see the betrayal. And the media is covering it up because they were part of that betrayal. They told us Biden was sharp. They told us he was fine. Then they turned on him the moment it was convenient.
Litigation sucks. I've been tied up in criminal and civil and in courts, and
And now Hunter's calling him out. He's got nothing to lose, and they can't handle it. Let's be clear about something. The media didn't miss the story. Remember Leslie Stahl? They chose to bury it. This wasn't an accident. This was a decision. Sean Ryan's show gets millions of views. This interview has been everywhere online. The media knows about it. Their producers know about it. Their anchors know about it. But they made a choice not to cover it because this interview destroys years of narrative building. They spent 4 years telling you that the border was under control. They spent 4 years defending Afghanistan. They spent 4 years protecting the Biden admin.
This is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie.
You know what you told me a long time ago when I asked
Ukraine, from China, and from other places. His brother, who didn't have experience, became a big builder.
Is no laptop.
There was no laptop.
I have no recollection whatsoever of ever dropping off a laptop to John Paul McIsaac. He says he goes to repair the laptop, but then he starts to read the files. And he reads a file and he sees files about Burisma. And he says the only thing that he can think of doing is calling Rudy Giuliani. He's a laptop repair shop owner in Wilmington, Delaware, whose store is 3.5 miles at most from where everybody knows my parents live. So if he had a laptop that he wanted to return, he thinks that the best thing to do is call Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, Bob Costello, and give it to my sworn enemy.
But there was no laptop, right?
They cobbled together all of this digital material that had been stolen from phones, that had been taken from the dark web, and they made it out to be this thing. Then the story doesn't become about the laptop at all, because there's nothing in the laptop other.
And in 5 hours, Hunter Biden admitted they were lying. Not some Republican, not some right-wing pundit, the president's own son. So the media buried it. They grabbed 1 or 2 quotes for a quick story, move right along. They're hoping you don't watch the full interview. They're hoping you don't see how damaging this really is. But here's what they don't understand. People don't trust them anymore. That's why shows like Sean Ryan's are exploding. That's why 5-hour podcasts get more views than cable news, because people are tired of being lied to. Now, I can't hold a candle to Sean Ryan. You and I both know this. He's got the money, the producers, the studio, the foundation with the Bibles buried in it. He's got the background. He's got the connections. The media had a choice. They could have covered this honestly. But people like me and Sean, we're not so different, except I get up and go to a regular job. They could have asked tough questions. They could have done their jobs. Instead, they protected their narrative, and that's why they're losing. So why does all of this tell us? So what does all of this tell us? It tells us that even the people closest to power knew the truth. Even Biden's own son knew the immigration policy was a disaster. Even he knew Afghanistan was a failure. Even he saw the problems. But they couldn't say it, not while their father is still around, not while the media was protecting them. Now that Biden's out of power, now that the protection is gone, the truth comes out. And the media is terrified because if Hunter Biden can admit these failures, what does that say about the media that defended them? What does it say about the journalists who told us everything was fine? Leslie Stahl. It says they were wrong, or worse, it says they knew and lied anyway. This interview matters because it's proof. Proof the problems were real. Proof that even the Biden family saw them, and proof that the media chose to cover it up. They'll tell you this is just Hunter being bitter. They'll tell you he has legal problems and debts. Maybe he'll sell some paintings and he's just lashing out. But that doesn't change what he said. That doesn't change the fact that he admitted his father's policies failed. Makes you wonder who was really in charge, because I don't think Joe was. The media doesn't want you thinking about this. They want you to move on. They want you to forget, but we're not going to let that happen. The news media missed the story, and it wasn't by accident. They buried it because the truth is too damaging. Hunter Biden spent 5 hours dismantling the entire Democrat Party and his father's legacy, admitting all the failures, questioning his own party, and the mainstream media decided you don't get to know about it. But now you do. Now you've seen what they're hiding, and you can ask yourself, if they're covering this up, what else aren't they telling you? This is why independent media matters. This is why long-form interviews matter. This is why shows like Sean Ryan are the future, because the truth eventually comes out, whether the media wants it or allows it to. So what do you think? Was the media silence really an accident, or did they bury this whole damn thing on purpose? Drop your comments below. Share this video. Make sure people see what the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. And if you want more breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button. We're not stopping. We're going to keep showing you what they're hiding. I'll see you in the next one. Find me a video to endure. If you've got suggestions, if you've got some ideas of things I should cover here, leave a link in the description below. I'll talk to you in the next one.